All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to have you joining us today. My name is Jim Cascade. I'm the CEO of Conversica, and we're going to talk about AI that's all treats and no tricks. What do we mean by that? We're actually delivering on the promise of AI today, and you're going to get a chance to take a peek at what is our most exciting release ever in the history of Conversica. Now, for those that are new to us, we were formed in 2007. We launched our first sales AI in 2009. So we've been doing this for a little while. And here today, joining me is our VP of Product, Todd Etchinson, and one of our customers, Eric Little, who is, as you can see in his title, he's focused on something that I think a lot of us really appreciate: growth. Growth is hard. And we're going to talk to you today about how we're making hard easy. But first, let me just give you a little bit of background about Eric. Eric's been at the Suns, the Phoenix Suns premier team, for about 13 years, so he's still getting used to it. And since our partnership over the last 5 years, the Suns have achieved this amazing set of statistics. The Sun membership base has been increased from 2,000 to a complete sellout. And what that means is a 123 game sellout streak. I don't know of any team that can claim that amount of statistics. It's amazing. What does it mean? 12,000 season tickets plus an additional 5,000 sold as single game group tickets and suites. And they have a backlog, a wait list of 4,000. Guess why? Well, we're going to talk about that today because AI is doing its job. So let's dig into this. Let's talk about a little bit about the tipping point of AI agents. We're kind of in this mode now where we're hearing it everywhere we go. What I want you to pay attention to is the kind of areas that we can focus AI on and what it can accomplish based on its task or its goal or where it's focused. Revenue growth is what we're focused on exclusively here at Conversica, but we do have peers in the industry who are trying to make costs go down and be more operationally efficient. Other areas like creating content, HR, accounting, finance, but growth is hard, and it's hard for an AI to do that appropriately. So let's talk about, what does it take for an AI to be capable of handling a complex sales process? Well, you have agents that kind of start at the basics. Instant response agents are ones that just handle the basic repetitive tasks. Simple rules, automated systems that, like resetting your password. It's really quite straightforward. Even question and answer in the support arena is a single step, very simple instant response. Now, the next one is pattern matching. And this is where the agents kind of recognize and act according to what's going on, but they kind of evolve a little bit beyond that of what they already know. Just imagine a helper that kind of spots familiar situations and recognizes someone's asking a common question. And it's doing things because it's picking out patterns, so a little bit more advanced. In the outcome-based kind of step up, we're talking about goal-focused agents, and that's where Conversica started in 2009. These agents aim to find out the best way to achieve a specific goal, and the agents are looking for the most efficient way to get things done based on that goal, and they don't give up until the goal is accomplished. Beyond that, smart decisions is where the agent weighs the pros and cons, and it finds the best one for you. It's kind of like a personal assistant that compares all your options and then picks the right one for you. And then beyond that, adaptive learning. Agents get smarter by understanding their past experiences, your past experiences with them, adjusting behavior to improve future results. And that's like a personal assistant that kind of learns your preferences over time and uses that to adjust accordingly. And then the final, which you've heard Sam Altman and others talk about, the idea of agents working together in a structured way to handle a bigger job, teamwork agents. So today, Conversica, outcome-based agents moving to smart actions. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of the hype around that. And I think today, when we think about where all the hype began, it was when the transformer model was first released. Now, keep in mind, Conversica began in 2007, released its first sales AI in 2009. Transformer model was invented in 2017 by a number of brilliant scientists at Google in the Google research, specifically the Google Brain team. So this is kind of the technology trigger. Today, we are at the AI agent era, of course, and this is where we're at the peak of exaggerated expectations, meaning the AI can do anything. It can actually fix my kids' lunch boxes and drive them to school. No, not really. But I think when we think about where this is going after the peak, what we're going to find out is that the AI agent can't really do really complex tasks well. Yes, it can take a support question and give you an answer, one-step process, but can it take a multi-step sales cycle and really hold on to that in an accurate way? And I think this is where we're going to get in the trough of disillusionment from various players and leading AI agent frameworks that just won't work for you. Those complex AI workflows, no, it's not going to be easy. But once everybody catches up, and we've been doing this for 15 years, I think we're going to see specialized agents where the path of enlightenment is going to be based on doing what it's supposed to do, but for specific use cases. And then ultimately agent ubiquity, the plateau of productivity is what we'll achieve. But let's talk about where we're seeing the most exciting things happening from an end user's perspective. Now, remember, we launched in 2009. 15 years ago, we were using the latest technologies in recursive neural nets. It was kind of the state of the art. And the order of magnitude, kind of in the start, is like 1 million parameters and a gigabyte of data, which we maxed out with RNN technology. We maxed out at 10 million parameters and 10 gigabytes of training data. We jumped into the first transformer model in the fourth quarter of 2019, before people were even talking about it. We used Google's BERT model and launched that in March of 2020. So that's kind of an order of magnitude further, and it's equivalent to GPT-1. Fast forward to GPT-4, we're at 1 trillion parameters and a terabyte of training data sets. And that is the 6th order of magnitude from the start. Two more to go. I call it the 8th order. And these transformer models will have the power and reasoning and knowledge base of the human brain. And then, of course, it's not going to stop there. So let's talk about what Conversica is doing with this and how come we're talking about the 6th order of magnitude today. What are we doing that's unique compared to our peers and others who are 15 years behind us and just announcing sales AI offerings today? Well, I can tell you that we can guarantee 100% brand safe experiences, and no one else can. What does this mean? No confabulation, hallucination outside of your content. You know, we're guaranteeing brand safe because, frankly, we're essentially configuring our AI with your content. It's not 85% accurate. It's not 90% accurate. It's 100% accurate. And it's ready out of the box. No code, no prompt engineering. We can get you up and running in a day in many cases of our customers. Our agents are specialized, though. They're specialized on these complex tasks around sales. And we know, if there's any sales people in the audience, this isn't an easy thing to do. Revenue hunting, AI agents are unique to us with 15 years of experience. And the technology underneath the hood is the latest. First day, OpenAI 4.0 was launched. We were in production the day after. So let's talk about the next key part of what you're going to see today. You're going to see an awesome demo from our VP of product. And here's what you're going to be viewing. Answers IQ is an evolution of our Gen AI solution. Again, we launched it in March of 2020. We called it Answers. The IQ, of course, it's much more intelligent. 6 orders of magnitude improved, brand accurate responses. Our AI fact crawler is an automated way of ingesting any and all of your content. Think brand websites, documents, podcasts, videos, everything that's brand safe from your perspective is what our AI uses. It's your best trained employee. And yet, when we can guarantee brand safe experiences, it's because we're providing AI controls that allow you to get in and kind of operate on a range of customization. Let's say at one end, you can just let the AI weave in all your brand domain information into the conversations and let it do its thing. Two, you can completely structure how you want the AI to actually have a conversation. And you can get into the nitty gritty of those conversations. And Todd will show you that today. Behind the scenes is this enterprise grade protection, brand safe guardrails. Think of it as it's not going to say anything about sensitive topics. It will not go there. And then you can add more to that if you feel like messaging needs to be perfected. And again, all of this is out of the box, ready to use today. We've been doing this since we started the company. So super excited to show you what's coming. And I think with this, I'll hand it over to Todd.
All right, thanks, Jim. Let me share my screen here. Okay, I think you guys are all seeing that. So we have a few players, key players that we've created for this demo. I just want to introduce them so you have them straight in your head. So we have Olivia. Olivia is a marketing leader at a Fortune 500 tech company, and she's exploring AI and eventually what Conversica can do for her. At the bottom, we have John, who's a growth marketing manager at Conversica. He's listed as a Conversica customer because we actually treat ourselves like customers sometimes, and we have what we call Conversica on Conversica. So in that case, this is what's happening today. Then we have two AI agents, one for chat named KD and one for email named Alexis. Okay, so back to Olivia. She's been tasked by her leadership to improve their overall funnel conversions, and she's looking to enhance that funnel performance. She's got too many leads that are stagnating at the top, and they're not progressing as efficiently as she would like. As I'm sure many of you, she's been hearing a whole lot about AI agents, and not surprisingly, she comes across Conversica, and she's captivated by what Conversica might be able to do to solve her problems. So, excuse me, she is checking out the Conversica website, and she has a few questions. She notices this chatbot at the bottom of the screen here, KD, and she opens it up. Okay, so that's maybe a little different looking than a typical scripted chat bot. So she decides, well, I'll ask it a question and see what I find out. She asked a question that we get a lot. How does Conversica differ from marketing automation platforms? Okay, good answer. Very specific answer. Again, Olivia's thinking, is this really a scripted chat bot? So she decides to test it. She goes straight to the issue. She's my kind of person. Okay, interesting. Like so many people, once you find out you have a bot, you want to see what you can do to it, right? So, okay, let's ask it a question. Who will win the presidential election?
Oh, you went there, Todd.
I went there. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. We'll know soon. Okay, so not going to answer, friendly answer. But hey, why don't we ask me something else about Conversica? Well, she's not done testing yet, and she's going to ask something. Well, okay, I'm going to break the fourth wall here for a second, and I'm going to ask something that will help me when I go back to Texas to visit my family in a month or two. Whoops, that's the wrong one. I'm going back to my original. How do I explain what Conversica does to my parents? Something I think everybody in tech wants to ask at some point or another. Interesting. So it gave me an answer, gave me a link, gave me more information. I'm going to have to go back and capture this later from the recording so I can memorize it and be able to tell my parents. But okay, let's get back to our to Olivia's quest, right? So, the one thing you notice is as she was asking questions, it engaged her with her question, engaged her interest, but then always tried to bring it back to Conversica. Okay, so she's back on track now. She's going to ask, well, what is often, for many of us, a sticky question. How much does Conversica cost? So Katie responded, straightforward answer, didn't give more information than frankly we wanted her to give. But then look, it said, hey, I'm seeing some interest. Can you give me your first and last name? So Olivia's now intrigued. Olivia Thompson. Great. Okay, they want the email. Olivia Thompson. Okay, so now Katie has now taken her information and she says, great, a Conversica representative will be in touch shortly. Is there anything else I can help you with? So obviously, if Olivia keeps asking questions, Katie's going to keep responding, right? Which is awesome. But on the back end, what we've done is we've configured any lead that's captured by Katie to funnel into an autonomous campaign where another agent, Alexis, who I mentioned earlier, will continue that conversation with Olivia in email. So this approach really gives an exceptional customer experience, real-time interaction here, but then when we go into a deeper dialogue, it can be asynchronous and something that fits Olivia's schedule. Okay, so fast forward today, where now, of course, we've had some type of back and forth via email. I'm going to switch over to our lead manager tab because, again, this is a asynchronous thing, so it's not like I can send emails and get them back and forth. So we've shown what's happened here with Olivia. First, you see Olivia has sent out an email. Following up, she mentions the fact that, hey, I'm following up on the conversation you had on the website with KD, gave some more information, asked, hey, can we send some information your way? Now, Olivia responds saying, hey, thanks. But she doesn't say, yes, I want more information specifically. I don't want to have a follow-up call, but she does ask a few questions, right? So interesting. So what does Olivia do? What does Alexis do? She responds back to each of these questions with a clear, succinct answer, including a link to a video to have more information. And then again, are you interested in setting up a call to learn more? Now, here's what's interesting. This is really, she's answering the questions, but she's including this link. And this is our new Answers IQ technology that Jim mentioned, right? It's really giving accurate and relevant information, contextually appropriate answers that are going to, I think, impress Olivia. What this does is it provides smooth interactions, greater data consistency, reducing accuracies, and it's consistent across all channels. And then, of course, Alexis continues driving to the desired outcome, which is a meeting. This is a great example of how combining our workflow-based conversation design with these responses using retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, which delivers a relevant and helpful engagement. And it's much more like what you and I would do, right? If you respond to me and say, hey, Todd, thanks for reaching out. Here are some questions. I'm not going to say, hey, can we have a meeting? I'm going to come back and answer your questions and then say, can we have a meeting? And so I mentioned retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. It's a series of technologies that deliver personalized, natural sounding, and accurate responses to leads based on the knowledge base of facts about your brand. And that's really the key, that it's a fact base that is blessed by you and your brand. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see what happens. Okay, so Olivia responds. She's like, thanks for the quick response. I'm interested in setting up a call. Right, so she's gone and said, yes, I want to call. But she also asks another question, right? So I think it's interesting. Alexis does two things here. First, she marks Olivia as a hot lead, and she lets the sales team know. So first off, she's like, okay, I'm continuing on my conversation to say, yep, it's time to hand this off. But then she also goes back and says, hey, thanks for getting back to me. she answers this very important question. This is a really important one that we obviously take seriously, and I know all of you take seriously, about security and privacy. So we give a very good specific answer. We copy the sales rep and then confirm the phone number to make sure we know how to reach her. And Olivia's up, yep, that's great. I'm set up and ready to go. So, this is a great way to keep moving it forward, handing off to the sales rep. And of course, Alexis will follow up in a day or so to make sure that has been connected with Lauren. And then, if Olivia thinks of other questions later and, starts up the conversation again and asks more questions, she'll do that, which is great. Okay, so that was the end user experience, where you see these kind of powerfully human AI agents interacting with leads and moving them forward. But let's look under the hood to see how it happens. So remember, I talked about John earlier. John's our head of growth marketing, fictional head of growth marketing. And if we move back about a month, when he wanted to start off this whole campaign, he decided to start with one of our standard pre-built conversations that best matched his campaign goals and objectives. So let's see what he did. All right, so he went through our conversations. He chose this one, this inbound follow-up, send link and request call. And you can see that it's a structured approach to a dynamic conversation. Jim mentioned this, right? This is based on over 15 years of experience, 1.5 billion, that's billion with a B, interactions with leads, and it captures the nuances of effective communication, right? Autonomous, pre-built conversations, message cadence suggestions, best practices that we've developed through all this experience. I want to make this really clear. This is off the shelf and ready to go. You don't have to hire a team of engineers or consultants to do this, right? After the initial setup and we get connected to your CRM, your map, or whatever else, you're ready to start going. For revenue and marketing teams that don't have your own engineering team, you can jump in and get started. Right, so it's great. I mentioned he started with a template effectively, but he wanted to customize that. And so he went into that template. He created a specific version. You can see here, for example, that he inserted a variable, information statement variable with some specific information he wanted to convey, right, and get across. But now that he has seen some interactions with leads, he wants to make a tweak. And I like this tweak he wants to make. I'm going to switch over to the custom mode. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You can create variables. You can filter things. We've got our best practice tips here. But for this one, we're just gonna, I'm just gonna, instead of typing it out, I'm gonna copy it and paste it in. So he wants to type it in, right? So we get it in. He can decide how he wants to, he wants to make it look, maybe give it a little emphasis, maybe. He could, it could be a numbered list, a branded button, but it's just one statement, so we won't do that. Right, so now he's ready to go. But here's the thing, he's like, this was written originally by somebody else. Now I've edited it. I want to make it a little more, consistent. So this is the other thing we've now added, our rewrite with AI capability. Right, so let's look at that. Now here, we've got a lot of ways you can do it. You can write your own prompt. We've got some started here. For speed, I'll just choose this one. Reduce length and simplify the language. You can see how it created a prompt. We'll generate some new content. It's thinking. A little bit longer than normal.
And Todd, while
oh, there it is. It just took it a minute. So, Jim, did you want to say, you want me to keep going?
I was just going to say, for marketeers, the AI can construct all of this conversation automatically and dynamically. This is a situation where you want to get in and really customize. So just to make sure people don't feel like they need to get into any of this detail themselves unless they want to.
Right. Thanks, Jim. Right. So you can see here, the new version. You can compare it against the original. You can have it regenerate. you can say, okay, replace attempt or go back. I'm just going to go back. I'm not going to save it now, just to keep the conversation right. Now, the other thing we mentioned that is, it seems like a small thing, but it's kind of a big thing. I mentioned earlier about copying Lauren, the rep, on the email. So after the first message, any of these others, continue without saving, any of these other messages, you see that we've added CC assigned rep. And what this allows you to do is to choose the right point in the conversation to make a warm handoff to your sales team. In this case, as you saw earlier in the conversation with Olivia, when we got to the point that she had validated her interest and wanted to have a call, we wanted to confirm that or verify that we had the right phone number. We had we copied in our rep. Okay, so that's great. But now, John wants to provide an even more tailored message. Whoops, I went too far. Oh, I can do it here. So we have rules for this conversation. You can see we already have some created. And what happens here is, for leads that have been assigned a particular industry, John has created a little more tailored message, right? So maybe it includes specific use cases or specific examples for those industries, or for ones like Olivia who are new and don't have an assigned lead, it falls back to the original. But then he also wants to make sure they get to the right rep. And so he's created some additional rules around rep assignment. And really, he just went in and said, look, for the right, for the reps, I want to make sure that wherever their region is, they get assigned to one of the right reps via a round robin approach. So anyway, that's a kind of a way to customize the message, use an AI co-pilot to help improve that messaging and clarify it. Make sure that you've got a tailored message depending on the industry. Make sure you get it to the right rep. But that's all just around the conversation and that's only part of how we make it an exceptional experience. Remember Olivia's two-way conversation. We kept the conversation moving toward the goal and got it to the right rep, but we also answered her questions, which makes it more human-like. Right? So let's look. Let's talk about how we do that, right? So we've mentioned Answers IQ a couple of times, and Jim made a really important point about staying on brand and accurate. How do we do that? Well, we have to have a brand-specific fact base. We have to have a way to manage those facts and a way to define the limits of what the AI can do. What you haven't seen in the back is, Jim mentioned it, but you haven't seen it in this demo, is the advanced crawler, which effortlessly pulls data from your site and creates a fact base as a way to start to give these answers. It requires minimal effort on your part, and we can also ingest documents, photos, and videos to further enhance accuracy. But of course, as we do this, we want to make sure that we're focused on safety and compliance. So we've got strict guardrails, and we adhere to the strictest regulations, the AI Act, GDPR, and CCPA. This is all a robust foundation to make sure your AI is primed and ready to go. And it has 6 orders of magnitude more reasoning and knowledge than traditional machine learning and deep learning solutions of the past. Great, so that's all wonderful. But if you're like me, you're a fan of trust but verify, right? So we want to make sure that John has a way to test as he's getting this and he says, okay, we've got this fact base. I want it, turn it on for my customers. How do I make sure? So we have here a way for you to kind of test it and see. In this case, he's going back to that security and privacy customer. You can see down here, I just had it copied in. How do you ensure the security and privacy of your customer data? So this is actually checking to see what the answer would be based on that potential question. So now we have an answer very similar to the one that Olivia received. John can check out what facts were actually used to contribute to this, right? And there's 3 here. These two at the bottom were ones that were pulled from the website based on what was out there. The one at the top was a manual entry one. I'm guessing this is actually words that Lewis, our general counsel, wrote that we use all the time, right? So John can decide if he needs to modify or augment the fact. You can go in and you can edit it. You can give additional sample queries to help train the AI around the types of questions that you might want to use this fact for. Remember how when I asked the question in the chat earlier, how much does Conversica cost? Anything to do with pricing, we've set up as lead capture. So we can say, hey, when this fact is triggered and used, that's a time we want to actually try to capture that lead and get information. The last thing, as kind of an example of this, is the expiration date. So this summer, I was out meeting with some customers. I met with one of our customers who's an NFL team, and they made a comment to me about how much time their team spends responding to basic questions about parking and concessions. Now, all that info is on their website, but we also all know that it's easier for people just to ask someone else than search themselves, right? So think about having this fact base in place so that an AI agent can autonomously answer those questions, how much that would be. Take it a bit further with an expiration date. Think about things that are changing or maybe have a limited lifetime. You can accurately inform leads or customers about things like you have a parking lot is under construction and maybe they need to park somewhere else, where your booth will be located at a trade show, maybe monthly specials or software upgrades. All of this can relieve your team of some basic tasks and allow them to focus on strategic discussions. Now, the last thing, and then I'll hand it back off. We've talked a lot about guardrails, and this is one of the things that you get and you don't even know you're getting. We have included a ton out of the box, right? So we leverage all of the existing LLM guardrails, but we also want to make sure you see down here at the bottom, Conversica defaults, we've given it specific topics that we do, that we consider to be inappropriate questions that we don't want it to give we don't want to give it leeway on how it answers. Things like hate speech or threatening speech or violence, right? And so we've had it say, basically, I'm sorry, we can't assist with that. How can we, there are other ways we can help you. But right, in the wild west of AI, ensuring control over the AI is one of the most important parts of your solution, especially when you are touching customers and prospects. So this is front and center of everything we do. Now, we also want to give you full control of what you add. So situations such as forward-looking statements, pricing, politics, as you saw earlier, an example. Maybe you don't want to talk about competitors. This is where these custom guardrails come in. You can choose what topics that you want to instruct the AI on how to respond, and you can tell it exactly what you want it to say. And I want to come back to something Jim said earlier. The worst way we will ever get off the rails is using the wrong content within your brand content. For example, maybe when we crawled your site, there was an old press release that we got that had an old product name that you've changed. Okay, so the worst case, you have an old product name, right? But you can test a lot of this. We're never going to go off of your brand content. We will only use the data that has been blessed by you. So let me stop my screen share so you can see me a little bit better. All right, and I'll just say, hey, look, in closing, the advancements that Conversica has made and we continue to make, we're focused on delivering the most compelling end user engagement we can without adding extra burden to you, the business owner. Conversica, we feel like we're uniquely positioned to help revenue teams leverage AI-powered autonomous assistance to uncover revenue now with an application that is pre-built, optimized, and ready to use today. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop and hand it back over to Jim to introduce Eric, and so you can hear the impact from a customer's point of view.
Thanks, Todd. Super powerful. Love it. So many key messages there that we'll close on and make sure people kind of take away. But let's talk to the real kind of where the rubber hits the road. So Eric, the VP of growth, and we know growth is hard. I just want to toot your horn, okay? So I opened up with some stats, but I want the audience to kind of know what your AI has been doing for you. So since we partnered, your AI has engaged 353,000 fans. And in those fan engagements between the AI and those folks that really love the Phoenix Suns, over 2 million exchanges and messages and 19,000 layups, pun intended, of opportunities to your sales team. I think on average, you've had an AI do the work of about 16 employees. And the way we calculate when we're looking at, you know, revenue, we're just looking at revenue. We want revenue growth. We don't touch customers that do less than 10x ROI. And that's where the Phoenix Suns have always been operating. So with that, maybe just a little bit of an opening to toot your horn. Great job in leveraging AI automation. Hopefully those in the audience will be just like you. So Eric, thoughts?
No, I really appreciate the intro and the opportunity to be here. And we've been customers since 2020 and have just continued to expand. And I think what's interesting is that a lot of it certainly started with how do we generate more revenue, how do we grow, how do we sell more. And while that's still true, I think, and there's so many great examples we've already seen in this, now I think it's even more nuanced on how do we get more efficient, how do we be more responsive to customers, and therefore free up the humans to continue to drive more revenue too. So I'm excited to get to connect today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think a lot of people think, okay, with your stats, I mean, you're peaking out on revenue. So what else can the AI do? And there's a lot of use cases, no matter which vertical you're in. But in sports, it's frothy. I mean, you've got pregame happy hours, you've got fun fests, drafts, watch parties, trailing new seats. You've got so many things that you can do, obviously, in the sales side, and I think, it even goes beyond just the seats themselves. You've got obviously merchandise sales, lots of people who transfer game tickets, the list goes on. And I love the fact when you get a fan engaged, and they're a long-term fan, as part of a member, the ticket membership functionality also kind of expands, the usage opportunities that AI has, critical seat updates and changes, to even helping customers update credit cards and things like that. So can you speak to some of those things that you kind of found the team really enjoys leveraging on an AI automation perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. We're using both the email and the chat functionality, and so I think there's applications in both. On the chat side, as Todd highlighted, I mean, I think there's so many questions that people just have about, what kind of food is there? Where do I park? What time do the gates open? All the kind of stuff that we would probably all wonder about all the time. And those answers live on our website, but being able to 24/7 answer those questions for people and have that accessibility, I feel like has just been huge for us. And then when there is a sales opportunity, pouncing on it and kind of taking it into the process, as was highlighted. So that's one. On the season ticket service side, something that we started doing was, with our monthly payments, just like so many sports teams and other companies do for various membership products they have, naturally you have credit card declines. And so one of our elements that we've highlighted and used a ton is to follow up with those people via Conversica with a little bit a different approach, more of a, oops, I'm sure, there must have been some kind of mistake, just update your card here. They could do that securely through Ticketmaster in our case. And the response rates and the engagement is sky high. And what that used to look like was a team on our side making outreach of what I call debt collector calls that are not a lot of fun. And honestly, if done incorrectly, also can have the potential to insult the customer too, right? Which is the last thing you possibly want with some of your most loyal folks.
Absolutely.
And so now, now that time that they used to spend on that, now it's spent on building better relationships, trying to grow accounts and upgrade accounts, keep them coming back year after year. And like the feedback from our team around it internally is just through the roof, and how much more they feel supported in that process too. And it's a great example, I think, of just, what's something that we've all just grown accustomed to doing that technology can help with, make more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I mean, this is the promise, right, that we're delivering on, which is let the team, the staff actually engage fans and get really deep in the conversation. In the past, they were so busy with kind of call it menial tasks, just answering questions that you don't have the time in the day to sit down and get to know the fans, family, why are they coming to the game? Maybe some of the more specialized requests, getting on the Jumbotron, things like that, where, human to human, you can really kind of dig in because you have more time to establish that relationship. The AI is busy for you doing all the things that are just common, right? Maybe maybe we can pull up one of the examples of Ashley, getting some of those complex questions answered for the fans. It just this is where it really comes in, I think. Eric, what are some of your thoughts in terms of how to leverage this forward?
Yeah, this started as an email inquiry to someone that had purchased individual tickets through Ashley Garcia on our side, our assistant, and our AI assistant. The person reached back out with a question about coming out for a birthday and how they could get a message on the Jumbotron. Right away, you could see at 7:48 a.m. And sometimes people might be here at that time, but traditionally we start at 9 a.m. So right, an hour before anyone was even working, we had a response here, and the correct response on how they might be able to go about that process, and making a great memory on a birthday. And so this is the kind of stuff that a team of people would have to comb through. And, I think that you bring up a great point about how we add value. And I think one of the only ways you can really do that is if you're really present in every conversation. And, if you have a list of, 100 emails or chats you need to get back to with various questions like that, I don't know how present you could possibly be in a conversation. And so I think like this is the use case on producing the right answer and then freeing up our team to add value elsewhere.
Yeah, have you had any situations where it's kind of call it the long tail, where almost every fan is interested and has to be engaged versus kind of the specialized, sweet box kind of conversations where AI
Yeah.
shines?
Yeah, no, I think what's interesting on the chat side in any given moment or period of time is like you can also really look at like trending topics and what are the stuff that aren't just the one-offs like this inquiry, which is great. What's the stuff that's trending on a bigger level? What are the type of questions that people ask the most? And for us a year ago, we were one of the first teams in sports to kind of move away from the traditional regional sports networks and the cable bundle. And now our games are free over the air to everybody in the state of Arizona, and then you can also stream them. And so when we did that, ownership wanted to give away some free antennas to everyone in the process, and it completely exploded for us in the amount of inquiries about that. And at one point, it was about a month period where it was about 25% of our chats were related to how do I get a free antenna. And so, our opportunity in those conversations was to give them information about how they could enter to win those, but then also on a bigger scale, how do you actually tune in and watch games? And we did this because we want kids growing up in the state to be Suns fans and get them in on it early. And if everything's not free and accessible, then there's risk to that. And so we wanted people to adopt it and get involved with it and know where to watch and tune in. And so this was all a great example of a way to do that. And I think the volume of it really surprised us. We thought it would be big, but I mean, you could never imagine it on that scale.
Yeah, and I think this applies to everybody in the audience, no matter which vertical you're in. Hopefully you're in a mature business where you do have the long tail. Otherwise, you wouldn't be, interested in applying AI because it's all about automating, the tasks that are happening a lot, right? So these volume-like opportunities, you can either feed the experience with a call center, contact center, and scale that way, or clearly, put a digital employee in the works. I think what we'll continue to kind of message, all of our customers and customer prospects, is now the AI can really pull from a large knowledge base, right? it's clearly got the reasoning capability where it can interpret questions and really know what kind of actions to take and stay on track. But it's pulling from a knowledge base that's everything about the team, all the details. And sometimes you can expect your human staff to have all of that, right? But it's sometimes hard to stay up on it. With the AI, it has access to everything, and no one on the team has to be busy programming that or trying to worry about the content and how it's applied. It just happens. It's automated. So these long tail use cases must be, now you can just drive more of them, to drive better experience. So with that, I think any other thoughts around just your future thinking of how AI and the team are going to come together in a collaborative way to continue to continue that sellout experience that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think a lot of it stems from, almost starting with like problems, issues, trends that I see with our team, and just thinking critically about, is that the best use of our time? And that goes back to the credit card example earlier, but I think there's probably a lot more. And what happens is you get in it day to day, and it's sometimes hard to take the time to take a step back and get beyond just, well, this is what we do, versus like, well, is this the best for us, or what else could be done? And so I think that's where I see the future of this for us. And I mean, it's now, it's just because we're sold out. I mean, we don't take that for granted by any means. Like, we got a lot more growing to do. And we got to over deliver on value, and make sure that we make memories for people, right? And I always say the only thing I can't do is control whether we win or lose games, but as a team, as a collective group, like, we can impact everything else in the experience, both before the game, during the game, and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though you might buy all of the season tickets, you may not always be in the seat. So there's a lot of work even the AI has to do to make sure you're maximizing, what you already are passionate about, getting as much of the family into the game setting. So a lot of work just to get folks, to the game sometimes. A lot of opportunities. Eric, really appreciate you and, the Phoenix Suns. Love the brand, love the winning streak, and love the partnership, with us. So with that, maybe we can take some questions. Are there any folks out there that have put some questions in the chat that we can?
There are actually a lot of questions in the chat, Jim. So we may not get to all of them, but we will respond to you guys as soon as we can. But there's been quite a few of them around kind of what does it mean by out of the box, and how heavy is the setup, and how much customization can I really do? So maybe you and Todd can kind of address that.
Yeah, so I think when Todd showed off, the latest and greatest, you have to think of it like as on a spectrum. So out of the box for us means your marketing sales teams, even your customer success teams, they don't have to do anything. There really is, just think of it as, I'm building campaigns to engage with my end customer prospects or existing customers. And from a campaign perspective, I just want a little bit about what that campaign's about. And that's all you need to tease out. The AI takes that content of what it is about you want to get across in that particular use case, and it weaves it into every interaction, every part of the conversation automatically. We're doing all the work behind the scenes to make sure that campaign content is part of what's discussed, within that goal that the AI has been, programmed to do. Then that's on one side of the spectrum. And then there's many brand managers who just want to get in there and really fine tune it and customize it. And that's where we kind of unlock what the AI is doing and allow the brand managers to tweak and customize. And so you've got kind of that range, but you really don't have to do anything. Out of the box means, for some customers, we start on a Wednesday, we've got you live on a Wednesday. We think of our enterprise accounts, Fortune 50. If they are not live within 3 weeks, they're in a red zone. So time to value is extremely important to us. And I think ultimately you can think of the options that you have in this AI agent era. You can program from scratch using APIs into OpenAI. You might embed the technology into applications, on a mobile phone, for example. That's pretty deep dive engineering heavy. You can take agent frameworks like Agentforce from Salesforce and use that for your building blocks to create agents. You still have to prompt engineer, code. There's still work to be done. And maybe system integrators can help you get there. But time to market's going to be longer. And, I think knowledge has to be much higher in terms of what you're doing. All the best practices of sales AI has basically been incorporated. We leverage AI frameworks, agent frameworks. We've now, ported to Agentforce, for example, at Salesforce, and we're ultimately delivering an application. So out of the box application, just as you would expect it. You can buy cloud infrastructure and code SaaS, or you can buy SaaS. In this case, you're buying SaaS in the form of applications specialized for revenue growth. And if we can't get you up and running fast, then we're failing on that promise. And that's always kind of a build versus buy perspective. We're all about just buy it from us. And time to value is a lot for customers. Other questions?
Yeah, Jim, I'll add on to that is that's the point I was trying to make earlier is like, look, you're not buying a platform where you have to get a team of engineers or consultants and do something. You're buying an application that's ready to go. That's my extremely short answer to that.
Yeah, so Jim, we have quite a few questions around the use cases and specifically around outbound and how Conversica can support and what type of results you can expect with outbound.
Yeah, I think high value use cases for us, start with inbound, obviously leads that, understand, know the brand. And I think, outbound, everybody's thinking about, right? Because they want to create new opportunities, create new leads. Maybe they've got structured lead lists where, they're going after targeted customers. And that's kind of for us in a path of maturity. You definitely want to use your AI for inbound and field all of the volume possible before handing it to the human. Even though it may be a marquee account, Visa comes in and you want to go after Visa as a potential account, you want to have a named exec on that. You really want AI to get in there because it can operate very well with any level of executives on any sort of enterprise to mid-market, accounts that we focus on. And allow your AI to get the sales opportunity to a sales ready state, right? So that's what we advocate for. And I think when you think about that maturity curve, you can take it beyond outbound and you can keep going, right? You can start thinking about expansion of existing accounts post-transaction, upsell, renewals, things to spur adoption. And then even beyond the expansion, you can just have the AI engaged on a brand, advocacy, brand awareness kind of aspect where you're driving health, maybe even, using the AI to onboard. We've seen use cases in our base there. So the quick answer is yes, but we do think of it as from a maturity perspective. Start with the ones where you're going to absolutely show value instantly, where you're going to be able to, instead of responding to 30% of the inbound leads appropriately, on brand messaging in real time, frequently, all the things that really make it hard for human workforces to do right at volume. Allow the AI to be the buffer between that volume and your inside sales or field sales teams first, because the AI can respond like this, and it can always be on brand. And of course, with what we just showed you today, on brand in terms of knowing all your content. So in many cases, even better than your sales teams in terms of being able to answer the questions quickly. And then allow the sales team to kind of nurture that, that strong relationship after the sales ready lead's been matured.
All right, let's go ahead and start the wrap up. We will answer the rest of these questions offline.
Well, thank you for spending an hour with us. Hopefully this has been meaningful. I think from a company perspective, our key mission is to realize true human value and potential by unlocking your revenue teams to doing what's really important, following up, engaging with, creating those deep relationships with customers, allow the AI to work the more menial tasks, the high volume tasks, but still an incredible experience. We're transforming that end user experience, with 6 orders of magnitude in both reasoning as well as knowledge base using your brand information. We've got the most sophisticated engagement between AI and a user that you'll ever see. Our use of retrieval augmented generation RAG, we deployed it in 2020 before the term was invented. So we've been there a lot way ahead of the rest of the market, and we've trialed and errored this so that we know when we say best brand advocate, best brand experience, we can give a brand safe 100% guarantee, which means a lot for our Fortune 100s. We're powering some of the largest brands globally, and as a partner, we're focused on the enterprise. We're focused on the big companies, which means that everybody is going to appreciate that investment, no matter what size you are. So with that, I think I just have some calls to action for us. If you haven't engaged with our product and you're curious, we have Maya. She's an AI, Conversica AI agent, and she's been given a few objectives. There's 3 different goals she can achieve, which you can pick from at Experience Conversica on our website. So just go there, sign up, and you can immediately start engaging with Maya. Ask Maya some really hard questions about Conversica. Get into the details. She'll have them all because, frankly, she's been configured to understand everything about Conversica. So have some fun with her. And then share your reaction and thoughts. Get out on LinkedIn, get on X, get out on Instagram. Talk about what your experience with Maya is, and let the world know. We're here to obviously help you grow revenue, which is the hardest thing you can do. Thank you again for all of your time and attention, and have a great rest of your Wednesday. And thank you, Eric, and thank you, Todd. Thank you, team, supporting us.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.